How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Hopefully you're all good. Hopefully everyone's okay today after that game yesterday. We're back with match reaction today. We are. Anybody in the chat? Yeah. Oh man, that game was a shambles yesterday. That game was a shambles. Oh man, this is good. It's nuts. Dry roasted. Yeah, Ryan, how are you? Hey DB, welcome into the chat. Good to see you. How are you feeling today? As always, still recovering from the dreadful game. Oh man, it was bad, wasn't it? First half was really bad. Second half improved a little bit, but there's a lot of things to get into today about that. So yeah, really bad, man. I was hoping Portsmouth away we're gonna do them, honestly. It's absolutely bad, man. Bad. You're right, Nick. How are you? Welcome into the chat. Hope you have a good day today. Hopefully you're okay. Oh man, gotta stop eating these nuts. Honestly, these dry roasted nuts are addictive sometimes. Gotta put them away. Good to hear. Good to hear, Nick. Good to hear. Right, we're gonna do a bit something different today with you guys. We are. I've got to stop saying that. I've actually done something because it's coming up to the end of the year. We're gonna review how we've done this season. We are. Or the first half of the season. We are. We'll do that in a second once a bit more people come in. I've seen more news on that keeper we are in for. Is that the Patterson guy? Yeah. For what I've heard, there's another club interested in him, but we're only gonna get him if Hamer doesn't sign an extension. I will say this. Ronnie Edwards looks like something might be happening there. Might be happening. According to what I've heard, a deal is close to being agreed. So yeah. That's good news for us, I think. So yeah, so you got Ronnie looking like he's gonna come. But I think all our focus right now should be on West Ham, to be honest. I know there is interest in Ronnie in a different club as well. Something happening with us in another club. Yeah, there is another team in for Ronnie. I know that. I just don't know who it is yet. I'm trying to find out. I am. Nick goes, always gets me as a team of professionals that need a talking to, play in the second half and not from the off. It's weird, that one, because, you know, when you see stuff like that, it's kind of like, is there match fixing involved in it? Because I don't know what the game plan was at the start of that game, you know, because when you go into a game like that, why is it when you're at home, against Leicester, against Preston, or whoever the opponent is, you know, you're looking great on the attack. You really are. You know, you're charging, you constant attack, you're getting the goals, and you go from there. But then when it's away, you're not even trying. You're just, the game plan seems to be yesterday in the first half, Pompey giving the ball to Pompey constantly. That was it. I don't know what happened yesterday. It's weird, man. How that happens, I don't know. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's weird. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna be ranking all the players today. We are for the end of the season, end of the year. All the players that have played so far at the moment for QPR. Playing a 4-4-2 away just doesn't work. I think Hayden was brilliant when he came on yesterday. Proved he can control the midfield. So I think we throw him in on Monday and go 4-5-1. Listen, look, Hayden is a quality player. I think Hayden is a player that I've wanted at QPR since we got him on loan. But the thing is, he's a leader. He's a captain. You know, he gets looked up to. And he's more of a defensive midfielder than Varane is, I think. You know, Varane's great. But Varane is also a box-to-box midfielder, I think. You know? So, I think that's what also comes down to it as well. So, yeah. Right. Let's do this one quickly. Yeah. I'm going to switch scenes. Right. So, as you can see here, we have a tier list. We have a tier list. We're going to be ranking QPR, basically how they've been from the start of the season to the end of the year. So pretty much January wise. So yeah, these are pretty much not every player that has you know been involved, but it's something that I've been looking forward to do, actually. I'm not going to lie. I've been looking forward to do this just to see what your thoughts are, and then we're obviously posting it and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see how it is. Nick says from JS being asked about formation he can play others, just feels he doesn't have the players. Well, that tells you something. It tells you that he wants certain players in certain roles, and I said that at the start. You know, it takes a while to build a team around. You know, there's certain players that he's using that he might not want to use, but he's better. It's the best player that we can use compared to the other. So yeah. But anyway, we're gonna get into this now. So let's start off with Mbenge. Mbenge came in January, in the start of the season in August, from Reading on a free transfer. I've got to learn to put this on mute. I really do, man, because it's really bad. Really bad. I can't believe Chelsea are actually winning. Jesus Christ. Alright, let me put it on mute. There we go. Right, so yeah, like I said, Amadou Mbenge, he came in August on a free from Reading. Quality player. Been pretty brilliant this season. He is originally a right back, but has been playing at the start at centre back, but has now been moved to right back. He has obviously by shifting Jimmy Dunn into the middle for height wise. So yeah, I'm gonna put Mbenge in a position, which Ryan says being a solid more at right back, wasn't the best at centre half. I'd say A. I'm putting him at A just because I just think there's been a couple of instances. Like I said, some people don't like him at centre back, some people don't like him at right back. In my opinion, I think he's a solid centre back, but there's certain things he can't do at right back. But he has proved in certain scenarios me wrong. You know, for example, against Leicester City, the goal he scored, you know, he has power in him, but he doesn't really have control on the ball or accuracy in shooting. He does go down a lot, but in defensive wise, he's bloody brilliant. You know, he's one of the best players that we've signed in defense this season, you know, for a long time. You know, and I can see him at QPR for a long time, doing well, probably being a captain one day. He's 23, still young, but we're going to put him in A just because obviously I feel like there's some things he hasn't done right as well, but there's still improvement there. So yeah, we're going to move on to Ben Hamer. Ben Hamer, I'm gonna put him. I'll put him A because he hasn't played many games like Nardi has this season, but he he's been solid when he comes on. When he's on that field, he's been solid. You know, he's had a couple of clean sheets. He has. Apart from the injury that Steve Cook gave him, you know, he's still been brilliant. You know, but he might be leaving in January. Obviously, because obviously he's only signed to a certain length at QPR, but he's been a brilliant asset when he came on. When he was at Sheffield United, he was brilliant. He saved so many great saves. So yeah, we're gonna put him in A. Daniel Benny, we're gonna put obviously D. Now, the only reason why I'm putting him D is because he hasn't actually played first team. He hasn't played first team, and he's only played the development squad. And do you know what? Actually, let's put him C. You know, I don't want to be too harsh on him. Listen, he hasn't played first team that many games. You know, I don't think he actually has played first team this season. But he's a young talent. He's 19 years old, I think. He came last season. He did to QPR from Australia. And he's been brilliant. I'm not gonna lie, he's a really good youngster. You know, he's very exciting to watch when he plays for the development team. But he just hasn't broke well this season into Julian's plans. You know, he's come onto the bench a couple of times, but he's not actually been on the first team sheet that many times, apart from obviously the cup game. But in pre-season, and he's been brilliant, and in Australia's World Cup thing, they were brilliant as well. So we'll put him on a C just because he hasn't really played for the first team. Escudina, I'm gonna put C as well, just because he hasn't been the best in first team. Let's be honest, right? He's not been great. You know, he's a youngster that's still growing. He has a lot of work to do, whether we send him out on loan in January or not. But he has been a part of Julian's plans. He has. A lot of it is pretty much because of rotational and left back, where we only really have two left backs in our squad with Davis and Escudina, with obviously Ziad injured. But I'm going to put him C just because obviously, you know, he hasn't done awful. He has done okay for the development team. But he has been involved in a couple of mistakes for us, pretty much conceding goals. So I'll put him C. There's a lot of work to do on him. He's got a lot of understanding of the English game to come. But I think a loan experience might help him. But, you know, he's young and he's going to grow into a great player, I think. He still needs to mature a bit. So, yeah. Best keeper of what we... Oh, wait, hang on. Reese says, made some good saves, I agree. Nick says, best keeper of what we have at the moment. Okay, fair enough. Genie improves, like I said, hasn't played. No, D for Escudina. That's Ipswich game has done me. Do you know what? This funny because, you know, Preston game, when he played in the Preston game, he was the reason why we conceded that goal. I think the Preston game, the first game of the season. Also, I think he hasn't been great. You know, hasn't been great. Benny improved like I said, hasn't played. That's why I'm going to put him C, Benny and Nick. I'm putting Benny C just because he hasn't really played. So I wouldn't say shit, but anyone that hasn't played is going to be ended up into C and D, pretty much C and D. So yeah. But yeah, Escudina, a lot of improvement. Harvey Vale now. Oh God, one of my favorite players for one of my favorite youngsters that I've seen play in the last 3 years. Came from Chelsea in January last season. Unfortunately, he was injured at the time. He had a bit of a stress fracture or a stress injury or something like that on the back. But in my opinion, he is a great youngster. Honestly, I've been watching Harvey Vale for 3 seasons. Whether that's on loan, wherever he's been at, or in the Chelsea academy. You know, he's a very mature player for his age, a very mature player, which is incredible for football because, you know, when you have maturity in a young player, they grow a lot better and they have much more understanding of the game, and you're gonna watch an actual player perform at his full best. Maybe not at his full best all the times, but you know, you can guarantee he will play for the badge, not the name. So yeah, Harvey Vale, I'm gonna put B, just because he like I said, he has had an injury. You know, he's been injured. We haven't really seen the best of him yet, in my opinion. But when we have seen him, he has been good. He has been great. You know, one of my favorite signings so far for QPR, Harvey Vale. But I think a lot. We haven't seen the best of him yet. I'll say this: Harvey Vale is a player that we're gonna watch develop at QPR and be one of our I wouldn't say homegrown players, but he's gonna be what Eze is to Palace, pretty much. Right, and when Eze went to Palace, he's gonna be like that. If we go promotion or anything like that, he will be great. Honestly, we will see more of him soon. I guarantee you it. B plus, not quite an A yet. Have tough for him with competition on wings, but agree he looks good. He's a like I said, Harvey Vale for me is a great player, man. It's an exciting youngster that I'm a big fan of, and like I said, because he hasn't really played that much for QPR this season still with injury wise. You know, I've put him B just because obviously he's still got potential. You know, we ain't gonna get rid of him or whatever. Right. Isaac Hayden, we're gonna place him in B as well because, like, the same thing. When he has played, he has been brilliant. You know, he's been at QPR before. He knows what, you know. He knows the club. You know, he was brilliant when he came to the club when Marty Fuentes was there, and when he came obviously in a free in August for QPR. He hasn't really like been like put onto the pitch that much to be seen. So I can't put him in an A or an S or whatever. Put him in B, category B, just because if he played more, I reckon it would be higher. But because of he hasn't really played much, B, same as Vale. But he's another great talent. You know, he's someone that is a lot different to other players that we have. I think he's more defensive. You know, he gets stuck into tackles. He's not afraid to win the ball back. You know, he's absolutely brilliant in midfield, and he controls the game. You know, his experience in the Championship is a big thing for us as well. You know, he's played for Norwich. He's gotten up with teams like Newcastle, and you know, he ex-Arsenal youngster. So you know, he's a brilliant midfielder, and I just think at his age, obviously he's a bit late for us, but he still is a big part of the team, I think, with leadership, you know, and when he gets his time, he will be brilliant. You know, he has played a couple of games and he's been brilliant for us. He just played against Pompey, and when he came on, he changed the game completely. You know, he looked really good, kept winning the ball, and he, you know, he has a good eye for you know, picturing out the ball, you know, like a bit like Jake Livermore would do, you know. So I'm gonna put him B, and we'll go from there. Ryan says Hayden been brilliant in all his apps. A for me. What contract did he get signed on? 1, 2, or 3 years? I don't know what the contract was. I'll be honest. I don't know what the contract was. All I know is he came on a free. That was it. But I'm putting B. And that's it. Now, we did sign a youngster called Isaac Alexander. He's actually not Alexander, but Isaac Alexander is what they go by. We signed him on deadline day, the youngster. He's a centre mid. He hasn't played, so we're going to put him D. He hasn't played for the first team yet. He has played for the development squad, and he has been doing well with the development squad. You know, he's a very exciting youngster. He has played Champions League football before with his previous club, and he did score against Chelsea, I believe, in the Europa League, I think it was, last season. I'm not too sure. Might have to double check on that, actually. So, yeah. But we're going to put him D. But he's very young, he's very good, and he's got time to grow 100%. So I can't really much say on him. I haven't really watched him. The best person that we could speak to is probably the development squad people that do a lot of work on that on Twitter, I believe it is, on Instagram. So yeah. Right, next, Jake Clark-Salter. Right, we're gonna put him C. Why am I putting him C? Just because he you know, we've only seen him a couple of games, you know, and when he has played, he's been all right. You know, he's not been great. The first game, I think he was when he came back, or maybe the second game. I think it was against Hull where Joe Geldhart slipped past him, and he should be getting him. He should be getting him, Joe. He should. But they scored a goal from it, so I'm gonna put him C. Just because obviously he's injury prone now. He's still a valuable asset to QPR, but I just fear for him in the sense of where he's injured again, and he probably is not going to be the same centre back as he was when we signed him. So yeah, Jake Clark-Salter, not much to really say on him, but I'm going to put him in C. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he comes back from injury and he does well for us. So yeah. Next, Jimmy Dunn, the captain, main man. I'm actually going to put him an S. You know, Jimmy Dunn has been a great asset for us for the past 2-3 seasons since Marty Fuentes has came in. You know, Jimmy Dunn did come in to QPR a long time ago from Burnley, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was released from Burnley. Now, he is a great young centre back. He was a great young centre back. He obviously did play for Man United Academy with Marcus Rashford, for sure. And he has played for Burnley. He didn't really get any game time for Burnley under Sean Dyche, I think it was. But for us, we signed him. We did. Now, obviously, he did struggle a little bit in some games, you know, when he started at QPR. But I think Marty Fuentes got the best out of him. You know, he put him in a position where everyone probably thought he wasn't going to do well, you know. He was put right back because he wanted to change up the tactical thing that was seen, and it worked. It worked under Marty Fuentes, it did. We saw him as a right wing back. We saw him getting into the box, scoring goals for us from right wing back. And he's an important asset to the team. You know, he's starting the season as well to score goals. You know, he's already at 3 this season. He ended last season, I can't remember what, but he did score a cracker of a goal last season at home. He did. But yeah, I'm going to put him S because, one, he's the main man. He's our captain. You know, he has that kind of attitude like Peter Ramage did at QPR at the end of Peter Ramage's career. You know, he's a great centre-back. You know, he has been put centre-back now, which we've needed because of his height, which we've been struggling with. But Jimmy Dunn, in my opinion, great centre-back now. And it's good to see him in his natural position, doing well for us. And hopefully, you know, he's just signed another contract for us to stay at QPR. He said he loves it here. And hopefully he can get us to the Premier League and we can see him, you know, be acknowledged for what he is, you know. But yeah. Next, we're going to go with Joe Walsh. Right, now, I might as well do this all now, to be honest. We're going to do this all now. Right, we're going to put Joe Walsh in B, and we're going to put Nardi in A. We are, right? I've done these two because of the keepers, right? Now, the only reason why, a lot of people are going to hate me for this, for doing this, right? The reason why I put Joe Walsh B is because I feel like at the start of the season, there was a lot of mistakes he made when he played for us, you know? I think he is a good young keeper, Joe Walsh is, but the problem is, I just don't think he suits the style of play that we're doing. You know, he comes out of goal too quickly. He gets beat off the line. You know, I feel like Julian obviously said that he was going to be our main keeper, you know. He's not our number one, but he has, at the start of the season, was chosen because of the playing style. But I'm just not a big fan of him this season, I'll be honest. I'm just a bit disappointed with some of his performances. You know, I'm a big fan of most of the keepers that have come to QPR. You know, Joe Walsh is one of them, such as Cooper as well. But I just don't think he's been great this season. I know he's been injured. I know he's just come back from injury, but I just don't see him finding back into the team unless Ben Hamer and Nardi both get injured. But yeah, I don't rate him that much this season. He hasn't really been great. So yeah. But Paul Nardi, we put A, because I've rated Nardi for a long time. You know, Nardi is a French keeper, and French keepers are brilliant. Honestly, they are very unique. They are. Nardi has played under Julian Stephan before. We're at Rennes, and there was a lot of talk saying that them two didn't really get on at Rennes. I don't know how, but Paul Nardi obviously came into QPR as Joe Walsh got injured, and he pulls off some brilliant saves. Has this season and last season. You know, he's been at the clubs for 2 seasons now. This is the second season. I think everyone was worried that he would leave. Especially I technically I was worried that he would leave in the summer, but he stayed. You know, since Joe Walsh got injured, he's been brilliant. I think, you know, half the time he does get blamed, and he has made a couple of mistakes, not as much as Joe Walsh, but he has made mistakes. I can't sit here, and otherwise he would be put in S category. But I think honestly, Paul Nardi is one of our best keepers that we have, and that's the end of it. You know, I think he pulls off great saves. It pretty much sums it up, you know. Now he done more brilliant under Marty Fuentes than he has at the moment, but I also think it's also a defensive issue which we've seen this season, to see him get a lot of the blame of the goals that have been conceded. So I would say Paul Nardi, definitely A. He's been our main keeper pretty much this season. He's done really well, so I'd put him in the same category as Ben Hamer for sure. So yeah. Now the big man Varane, I'm gonna put him in B. Should be A, B, A, B, A, B. What we say in chat? Should we put Varane A or B? A or B? What do we think? What do we think? A or B? Oh, A or B? What do we think, chat? What do we think, boys and girls? Where should we put Varane? No. A lol. A. Oh, okay. Oh man. You know what? All right, cool. We'll put him A, right? I wasn't gonna put him A, but I was gonna put him B, but A, we'll put him A. You know, Varane came to us last season with Marty Fuentes from Girona, I think it was. He's a great talent. When we bought him, he's a great talent. You know, he was a good count as a good youngster. You know, Raphael Varane's step brother or half brother, whatever it is. You know, he had a lot of interest from QPR a long time ago. You know, we have been interested in him for a while since Christian Nuri came into the club. Marty brought him in. Wanted him for sure. We brought him in for a good price. He was brilliant last season after his sending off against Blackburn, where he got that suspension, and after that, since then, he's been brilliant. But this season under Julian, I would say he's not been the best that we've seen. Kind of in the games, he's had some good games, but in most games, it takes a while for him to adapt into the game. I would say he's fallen off a little bit this season. I wouldn't say he's shit, right? Let me put it out there. He isn't shit. He is a great player that still is showing his best, but I just still think he hasn't been great as much as last season. He hasn't. You know, there's a lot of things about him that I've seen, you know, he gets nervous about on the pitch, where he's either giving the ball away, but he does recover it by coming back and helping the team and getting that ball back. But for consistency wise, you know, I would say he hasn't really been consistent each game. So I'll put him A. You know, he's going to be great for the future, but right now, this season, he's not had the best season, I think. But yeah. Dembele, we're going to put we're going to put Dembele in B. We are. Dembele, for me, was a signing last season that I really was happy about. You know, he killed it for Blackpool when we brought him in. You know, he come from Celtic as a youngster at 16 years of age. He did. He's a player that I've watched since he was at Celtic, and he's a talented youngster. You know, he has brothers in football, a bit like the Willock family. But he, in my opinion, is for his height and his physical ability, he's such an outstanding player. To actually do what he does on the pitch is really hard. What people don't understand, you know, it's very good. But I feel like we haven't seen the best of him. You know, when he came into QPR last season and we played him, he was brilliant, phenomenal. I thought he was great. You know, he showed his true colours. But then he got injured under Marty Fuentes, and he missed pretty much half a season, maybe less than that. But injury-wise, since injury, he hasn't been on form. You know, at the start of the season, I believe he got injured. He did. And yet again, it took him a bit of a slow process to get back into the team. Sheffield United game when he came back was brilliant. That was his first, not his first game, but his game which he looked absolutely brilliant to see him back to his normal self. But I'm hoping this season he does a lot better than usual. I think he's got a lot to bring to the a lot to bring to the club, you know. He's gonna be brilliant. So yeah, I think maybe we should have done this after the match reaction. Maybe, I'm not too sure, but yeah, we'll stick with this right now. We have 32 minutes. Maybe I flopped this one a bit, but yeah, Dembele for me, at a B. You know, he's still got a lot to learn, but yeah, once he shows consistency again, we'll see the best of him. Adamson, we're gonna put D. We haven't really seen much of him. He came in from Australia at the start of the season. Good young right back apparently, but he hasn't really been seen whatsoever in the first team. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't know much of him. Kieran Morgan, we're gonna put B as well. You know, he hasn't really had the great starts to the season. You know, he did start right back for QPR, but he was dropped due to basically bad performances, I would say, at right back. You know, he did score a cracking goal against Watford at right back, but I would honestly say, you know, because he hasn't played much because of that, there's not much I could do in the sense of putting him A or B, or, you know, he's going to be a B player for me this season. You know, he came in last season under Marty Fuentes, released from Tottenham. And yeah, he looked outstanding last season. He did for us. He got so many games on the Marty, but I would say honestly, a lot to learn for the kid. You know, he has quality there. He looks brilliant. He's very mature for his age, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets some more game time under Julian. Hopefully, in midfield wise, and then we can go from there. But I'm gonna give him a B. Koki Sato, we're gonna give. I'm gonna give him an A because I feel like he's changed the team a little bit. He has in attacking wise. Koki came in last season on loan. With Dembele under Marty Fuentes, and he was phenomenal. You know, very exciting winger for a Japanese winger. Came from I believe it was a team in Holland. It was, but I'm gonna give him an A because I still feel like he's had a brilliant season. He's done an impact for us. You know, I still think he's better in the middle than on the wing. He can get past players. You know, he's another Dembele type of player, another Poku type of player as well. But he's a good winger, a good youngster, still good he's going to be worth a lot of money one day. But I would say right now, Koki Sato is like I said, he's getting into the first team. He's doing really well. But, you know, I think we still haven't seen the prime of him, I believe. Until we see him in the middle of the pitch, I think we won't see the best of him just yet. Koki agreed, like you said, DB. I think he's best as a 10. I think, honestly, as a number 10 in the middle, he seems brilliant. If we put Chair on the left, Sato in the middle, Dembele on the right, and then Kone up front or Burrell, we'll be killing it. I reckon we'll be killing it. Honestly reckon he's a player that likes to play in a free role. Like, Illy does it as well, but I think Sato is best at it, to be honest. Just because he can score goals. He's not afraid to shoot, you know, and he dribbles past players like there's no tomorrow. So yeah, we're gonna put him A. Kwan Poku. Now I'm gonna give him a C. You know, Poku came into the team in the start of the season in August. Big player, very big youngster, has so much game time under him in the League of 72, in the Championship. He's a class winger. He's an inside forward, in my opinion, that can get into the box, dribble past players, very skillful, score goals, type of winger that we've needed for a while. Very surprised QPR got him because there was other teams that were chasing him. Unfortunately, when he started the season, he did get an injury, a really serious injury, and it's kind of put him off track with performing for QPR. But he's back now. He's back on the bench. He played yesterday against Pompey. He's been playing off the bench for a while, for the last couple of weeks, but he is a class act, honestly. For what I've seen him at Peterborough, he is quality. Honestly, he's a player that we've needed for a long time. You know, he can help the striker score goals. He's very creative as well. But I can't wait to see him kick off his career at QPR, honestly. When he starts, that we will see him. If we had a graph, it would go up. As soon as he gets into his prime and starts scoring, that's it. I reckon once he finds his niche, he's going to be top form for us, 100%. But good business there by Christian Uri to bring him in. But I'm going to put him C just because he hasn't really performed or played at the moment for QPR. Liam Morrison, we're going to put B. The only reason why I put him B is because of defensive issues. We've had a lot of defensive issues this season. We have in centre-back wise, you know, such as Steve Cook and Liam Morrison. David and Mbenge have only been pretty much our main centre-backs this season. You know, Liam Morrison's a young player. He came into QPR last season for I can't remember the price, but he did play for Wigan on loan 2 seasons ago, obviously coming from Bayern Munich B team. Now we obviously got him from Bayern Munich. We did B team. Very surprised that we got him. He's a very good youngster. He didn't really get much game time last season until the end of the season. But this season, he's had, at the start, he was a main character for us. I think he's brilliant. I think he was the one that helped us with, you know, with certain things on the pitch. But he hasn't really played that much due to his injury or being out of form. And I'm guessing he's getting to get a lot of the blame because obviously of the goals that we have conceded and stuff like that. So I'm putting him B just because obviously he's only been there for the start of the season and then obviously lost form and been dropped. So yeah, we'll put him B. Nick says, like Harvell, tough for Morrison due to competition. Yeah, there's that as well. Very true, competition as well. Frey, we're going to put C. The only reason I'm putting him C is because, like I said, we haven't seen him that much this season. He hasn't scored, I don't think he's scored a goal yet this season whatsoever, even when coming on. I honestly think he's going to be leaving in January. I don't think he's happy at QPR, obviously being on the bench. I think he wants first team football. I know he enjoys London life. He loves being in the country. He loves being at QPR. But he doesn't hate QPR. He just wants first team, which is understandable. So I reckon we'll end up sending him out on loan in January and going from there. But because he hasn't played for us, I can't really do much. I'm putting him C, and that's it really. Madsen, I'm putting A. I'll tell you why. Because he's our key to our midfield. He's a key to our whole team, you know. I think we're building a team around Madsen just because of the way he's performing and the way he plays, which Julian obviously has put him in. You know, he will be a captain for us next season. If Jimmy Dunn goes, Nicholas Madsen will be the captain for us. He is a box-to-box midfielder this season. He's doing really well. He's on penalties, and he has scored a couple of goals for us, and he's playing since Mike Fuentes brought him in last season. He hasn't really played last season that much games, but this season, well, when Marty technically went and left QPR, Maddison played the last game of the season at Sunderland, and he just played phenomenal. Maddison did, honestly, just phenomenal. You know, when he was put in that team against Sunderland and scored the goal, incredible, incredible, you know. And this season he's been brilliant for under Julian. You know, his best mate is Jimmy Dunn. He's in the same tier as Jimmy Dunn, and he's just had an all round great season already. You know, he's getting the ratings in. He's doing his duties on the pitch. You know, he's been strong in midfield. You know, and he's just a quality midfield, all-time box-to-box midfielder he is. So, Maddison on the NES category. Nick says Maddison is top contender along with Dunn for player of the season. Yeah, I would agree with that, Nick. 100%. I would agree with that. Paul Smith, we're gonna put A, because he has played games. Obviously he has an injury and form issues, but he has scored goals for us and created chances and has been brilliant coming off the bench. So I'm gonna put him A. He has been at QPR for a long time, and I only say a long time because he's had 2 parts at QPR. First part with Mark Warburton, and he got released. Second was obviously when Gareth Ainsworth brought him back to QPR, when he was firing the goals in for, I think it was Leyton Orient, wasn't it? I believe. But yeah, we put him A. He's been great this season, goals and assists all over the pitch, and he's just a great character to work with, I'm guessing. But we put him A. Ryan Colley, we're going to put C. Listen, look, great youngster. Not had any really game time this season. He possibly could be going out on loan in January, I reckon. But because obviously he hasn't really played much, I'm going to put him C. You know, I feel like he's a good youngster on the left wing, right wing, wherever it is. You know, last season under Mike Fuentes, he was bloody brilliant, honestly. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Fuentes has called him to bring him to Leicester. But I would say this, I hope he stays. You know, I think in the next couple of seasons, he could be a main character at QPR. You know, he's very mature for his age. He does really well on the pitch, even with the afro. But, you know, I'm a big fan of Colley. But the only reason why I'm putting him C is because of game time. You know, he hasn't really played. You know, he's been playing with the development squad. And fingers crossed he can help them win a cup as well. So, yeah. Norrington Davis, we're going to put A with Paul Smith and all them guys. You know, he's been a big fresh air for QPR since coming in the summer. We needed a very good left back to replace Esquidina, who was out of form. And he's done that. He's done really well. I wouldn't be surprised if we sign him either in January or at the end of the season. You know, he's been brilliant for us. He's pretty much like just a great tackler and a great like powerhouse. He is, you know, he's not scared to get into down the wings, pass players, passing the long balls. He's not afraid to get into a challenge tackle. But yeah, I would say A is the best place for him, you know, and we're probably going to sign him and see a lot more of him. We've kind of saved him from Sheffield United's nightmare, and he's been a great signing for us. Kone, I am going to put A. You know, the only reason why a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this, but I love Kone. You know, I really like Kone. I think Kone is a brilliant striker. I think Kone, his story is incredible. And for us to actually sign him from Wickham, when we did for 3 to whatever million it was, at the start he was brilliant. He has been out of form. His last goal was against Leicester City, but I'm still going to put him in the S category just because he's been a phenomenal striker for us. We've been missing goals and he's been scoring them. You know, and I hope to see him score more this season, get back on form. I still think 4-4-2 doesn't work for us for goals. But I still think Kone is going to improve a lot more, and fingers crossed he kills it for us. So yeah, Burrell, who came in the summer as well, I'm putting him S for sure. 9 goals this season, top goal scorer at the club, almost top goal scorer, will probably be top goal scorer, golden boot contender in the championship. You know, it was a very surprising signing because no one knew about him in the sense of bring him in. He come out of nowhere. There was no news about Burrell coming into the club. You know, he signed him for 1 mil from Burton and Albion, I think it was. And since coming in, you know, he had a difficult time at the start. You know, he got game time, but he is a powerhouse. He's got pace, power, he's got dribbling technique, and he's just good at being in the right places at the right time. He's a proper poacher's player. You know, he's a defender's nightmare, I would say, because when he scored that goal against Wrexham, he's such a powerhouse. Honestly, he's like Jamie Mackey. You know, he reminds me of Jamie Mackey and Ivan Toney, a classic championship striker, like Coney is, but he has a bit of a different formality, I think, about him. But yeah, I'm putting him S as well, just because I think he's been a lot better than Coney this season. But they're 2 top quality strikers, they are. Samfield, we're gonna put we're gonna put B. You know, I like Samfield. I think Samfield's been a big guy for us for QPR since coming from West Brom to QPR. He's a great player in midfield. Unfortunately, this season he hasn't really been involved in games just because of obviously Julian has different obviously ideas of who he wants to play. Samfield has played mainly in left back for us this season when he comes on, or as a 3-week game he will come on as a main player. But I would say he's still a big character for us. He was the captain, but I would say I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't in the plans next season. You know, he's still a big player for us, I would say, in that midfield or wherever he plays. He's still a valuable asset in the locker room, as I would say. But I honestly still think he might possibly leave soon, the club, if he's not getting first team football. You know, we know he loves it at the club, you know, he loves it here, but he's not a big social media guy, so that's another big thing about him. You know, he keeps his head on the pitch and goes from there. So I'm putting him B anyway, just because obviously he hasn't really played that many games for us this season. Steve Cook, I'm putting him C, B. You know, he hasn't really, it's same as Morrison, he hasn't really been on form. He hasn't really been great this season, I'll be honest. There's mistakes that have been made, such as what Morrison has done as well, and Kieran Morgan and Joe Walsh. But mistakes happen in football, you know. I can't really say he's shit, because he's not. Steve Cook has been a real good blessing for us last season, you know. But this season, since his injury, he hasn't been the same kind of centre-back that I've seen on the field. So I would say Steve Cook is a B, you know, but he's still a valuable asset. Like I said, he's a player that will probably leave soon at QPR, and then yeah, we'll pretty much go from there. But I think he's in the right category. So yeah, Lakesh, we're gonna put obviously D. He's not played this season. He got injured at the preseason, a real serious injury, ACL, I believe it was. Hopefully he gets better soon. Obviously he'll be back, I think it's like March next year technically, and hopefully he does well for us when he comes back. But he's a left back that Julian likes, so yeah, fingers crossed. It's going to be hard for him to come back from an ACL injury, but yeah, hopefully fingers crossed he does well. And yeah, that's all I can say really on him. Elias Share, we're going to put him A. We are. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but like I said, I'm a big fan of Elias Share. I think he's a different type of player for what people actually think he is at QPR. You know, he's very influential to every player at that club, even staff. You know, he is a character. He's a fan favourite. He wears the number 10. He's not, in my opinion, a playmaker. He is involved a lot in goals. I think he's more of a goal scorer, but I think for him, he's just a player that likes to get the ball up the pitch and make sure it stays there. He can be skillful at times, but I just think he's very important still. You know, he in goal threat, really. You know, he's got a good pass on him, good vision. He can see a player from a long way. He can. But he's still influential to QPR. I won't give him an S because he has been injured, as well as other players. I'll put him in the A category because he hasn't been shit at all this season. He's been alright, he's been good. But he's another player that I think maybe could be leaving soon. Just because obviously game time, maybe injuries and stuff like that. He might want to move himself. But he loves the club, you know, and I think the club loves him. You know, if he stays, I'll be happy. But I can see, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, he's another main character for Julian. But I'm putting him in an A just because, obviously that, really. But yeah, so there it is. That's our tier list for the end of 2025, or the first part of the season of 2025 to 2026 season. So the main characters: Jimmy Dunn, Madsen, Kone, Burrell in the S, in the A. And Bengay, Haymar, Nardi, Clocks or Varane, Sato, Paul Smith, Davis, Chair in B, Harvey Bell, Isaac Hayden, Joe Walsh, Craig, Dembele, Kieran Morgan, Liam Morrison, Samfield, and Steve Cook. In C, Daniel Benny, Escudino, Clocks or Apoku, Frey, and Collie. In D, Isaac Adamson, and Lekesh. So there it is. There's our tier list done. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to. But right now we're gonna go into the match reaction, which we kind of taken a long due to this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But we're gonna get into the match reaction now. We are. If I can find it. There we go. Right, so yesterday we played Portsmouth. We did away at Fratton Park, and it was quite an interesting game in the second half. First half was really bad. It was first half. I've not seen QPR like that for a while. In maybe Ipswich, maybe. I'm not too sure actually, but it was really bad. That first half was awful, you know. There's a lot to work on in that, to be honest. I think I don't know if it was the team or tiredness or what, but it was just frustrating in that first half. We kept giving the ball away. We didn't look like we wanted to attack. Burrell and Kone just wasn't there, you know. No one was there until the second half, really. It was really, you know, really bad. I hope it's better against West Brom away because, you know, that's going to be a tough game going to the Hawthorns on Monday night, you know. Night games at Hawthorns is like a Tuesday night at Stoke, you know, that type of saying. You know, it can be easy or it can be hard, you know. Hopefully it's not rainy on Monday. Hopefully the players are going to be tired 100%. Look, you know, they've just played Boxing Day. They played just before Christmas. You know, it's like a 3-game week for them. There's gonna hopefully be rotation. There's a lot of work that needs to be done after the Leicester City game. We need to continue our form like the Leicester game we do. You know, I still believe in this team. This team is quality, honestly. But that first half at Fratton Park against Portsmouth that's not acceptable, in my opinion. You know, a lot of people will say Coventry, you know, this and that, but that game was this game at the start was really bad. You know, there's a lot to work on. So yeah, I honestly think we got a lot of work to do on Monday night. For this we do. So yeah, but we drew 1-1 in the first half. Obviously, right before halftime, Portsmouth did score from a set piece corner. Now, should it have been a goal? I don't think it should have, just because if Kone cleared the ball out properly, I think we could have saved that. But Kone had a bad touch and it was gifted to Devlin. It was a Portsmouth. And he's just shot it and it's gone past Ben Hamer. It has in the back of the net. Halftime came up. I honestly thought there was going to be subs in the second half, but no subs whatsoever. I'm guessing he saw something different because whatever he said in the halftime team talk, it changed the game. We were much more attacking, much more on the ball. The passing was a lot better. You know, we put in a big effort in the second half. Very impressive second half. Unfortunately, we couldn't do what we needed to do. We couldn't. If we look at the match momentum right now, so Portsmouth's first half was pretty much all over us. That was it. You know, it was all Portsmouth in the first half. You know, they haven't really had a game like that in ages. You know, 66% ball possession and very good momentum. The expected goal difference was normal for them, so yeah. But second half was all us. You know, Portsmouth did have glimpses in between the 65th mark they did and the 80-minute mark where they did control the game a bit more, but during that first half we pretty much controlled the game a lot more better. Jimmy Dunn did score our goal in the 61st minute from a set piece corner. He was able to get up and head of the ball. Brilliant header it was. Brilliant goal. Third goal of the season for Jimmy Dunn. So yeah, that was pretty much, that summed it up at the end. You know, we had chances and Portsmouth had chances right at the end of the game to try and finish it off, but it unfortunately ended 1-1. You know, it wasn't the best games that I've seen this season, but a lot of improvement needs to be done before West Brom. We obviously, player ratings, Ben Hamer 6.7, and Benge 7.6, Dunn 7.9, Cook got 6.6, Davis 7.3, Sato 6.2, Varane 6.2, Madsen 8.1, Dembele 7.0, Burrell 6.7, and Okone 5.3. You know, it shows you there in the ratings of QPR what we were like. Look, Kone and Burrell weren't there, Sato wasn't there, it was quiet again for Sato, Varane wasn't really doing much, Madsen key man as well to midfield usually. Dembele tried his best, and Benge kept dropping and losing the ball. Dunn, goal scorer, tried his best to get as much help as possible, but not really. Steve Cook was kind of looking tired. Davis wasn't really in the game, you know, so Ben Hamer, I can't blame him because obviously Kone was the one that kind of gave the ball away for that goal, so yeah. Ryan says a game of two halves. What formation and changes would you make on Monday? So for starters, for me, like I said, I'm sticking with we only need one up front. We only need one up front. You know, this is with every game. We don't need two up front in the championship unless they're both going to actually score goals. And that is why you bring on a striker. You know, I think we need only one up front. And we need a creative threat in midfield. You know, Burrell and Kone, none of them are creative whatsoever. You know, they are players that are attackers and strikers that want goals. One is a poacher and one can run onto the ball. So yeah, I would say creative threat. Look, Madsen can't do everything out there from the position he's in, unless you're going to push him more into the box with them three. But I would say we need creativity, whether putting Sato in the middle or Chair. But one of those strikers needs to be dropped, and a midfielder needs to be brought in for creativity for sure. Because we're not going. I know. Listen, look, 4-1 Leicester. We got goals then, but the reason why we got goals is because we constantly attacked. If we're not going to constantly attack, we need a creative threat. We do 100%. You know. To be fair, Kone saw it come late, couldn't sort his feet out, but no one closed down when it fell to their player. That was the worst thing. Yeah, I agree, Nick. You know what? You're right. You know, you're right. I can't fully blame Kone on it. It was a bad touch, but defender-wise, we should have stopped it anyway. So, yeah. So, as you can see, Portsmouth ratings, Schmid got a 7.8, Devlin got an 8.2. He technically got the man of the match with the goal. Matthews 6.6, Paul 7.9, Swanson 7.3, Koznowski 6.9, Andre Dazelle 7.4, Lang 7.0, Chaplin 7.0, Blair 6.2, Bishop 7.4. I would say this, you know, Blair for Portsmouth looked really good yesterday. He's the only player in the championship that I've seen being able to get past Mbenge in that right back spot. Blair looks very interesting for Portsmouth. Looks very exciting. He's only 22. He's an English winger. I would say this: Portsmouth probably have a good young talent on their hands there in Blair, but I would also say teams need to watch out for him. Blair, honestly, he looked really good yesterday for Portsmouth. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone snaps him up. He actually reminds me a bit of, I would say, Chair in a way. You know, he does play a little like Chair, that Blair guy for Portsmouth. So I think they've got a talent on their hands, Portsmouth. Honestly, Portsmouth do have a talent on their hands. So yeah. But apart from that, every other player, Andre Dazelle, Chaplin, they had average games for Portsmouth. You know, I can't really fault them there. But yeah, that's the player ratings. Obviously, man of the match went to Devlin. For them, obviously, we made subs in Isaac Hayden, Poku, and Paul Smith, Michael Frey, and Sam Field. They all came on between the 71th minute mark and the 90th minute mark, which did change the game a little bit. Like I said, Isaac Hayden did pull off a good performance yesterday coming on. Poku was okay. Paul Smith tried his best. Frey wasn't really there. Sam Field couldn't really say much because he did come on at 90th minute. So yeah. Tellboy says Mon the hoops. I don't know what that means. If you mean Monday the hoops, then okay. Fair enough. But yellow cards, Isaac Hayden and Davis both got yellow cards in that game. So yeah. Table wise, we did drop to 9th because of the results from Watford and Millwall against their opponents, you know. We're still -2 goal difference. We still are up there, which I'm happy about. We're still in the top 10, which I'm happy about. Monday could possibly bring us good news in the sense of, depending on other results, we could finish off into the top 6 for the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, West Brom are in 16th position. They're out of form. We're playing them again. We did play them a couple of weeks ago in December. So yeah, fingers crossed we can do them again at their ground. Hopefully a lot better than what we did at Portsmouth yesterday. But we'll do our match preview for that tomorrow. We will. Nick says, like said DB, I think at some point he has to play Kone for physicality. If playing Koki behind, but if Burrell, I would play Poku as he has that physicality to balance the team. If you get what I mean. Yeah, totally. Listen, look. At the end of the day, you know, every player of ours is brilliant. You know, we need rotation to... But like everyone's saying at the moment, you know, everyone wants the best player to play, you know, and that the only way you're going to find that out is who's playing. So, yeah. Ryan says, whereabouts do you see the transfer news? Is it anywhere on Twitter? Twitter and just Google. If you go on Google and just type in QPR News Now is pretty legit, pretty a decent thing. If you go on News Now, you can go on there and just have a look on News Now. Really, that's pretty legit. But while I forgot to do it yesterday, is if I can find the names on Twitter, I will put the links in Twitter on the description on this video on the live stream and go from there. So yeah, but apart from that, we're gonna leave it there for today. We've gone almost, well, yeah, just over an hour. Brilliant stream, I think. Brilliant stream. I know obviously a lot of people on the title, obviously match reaction, and I know we've done it last. If you enjoyed this live stream, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to. Hopefully Monday brings good times for us. Yeah, again, we'll be back tomorrow for our match preview for West Brom. And yeah, we'll go from there. Next time we'll probably do the tier list or do anything to do it afterwards, because I think a lot of people may just be interested in wanting to do the match reaction. So yeah, but yeah, and is the Ronnie news your knowledge only? Ronnie Edwards, like I said, I know people in that play semi-pro. I know people, especially at Peterborough as well. I shouldn't really say it, but Peterborough wise, I know a couple of people at Peterborough that support Peterborough and actually know inside stuff. So for what I've heard, Ronnie Edwards is very interested in QPR, and you know, we're very interested in Ronnie. But the problem is Southampton won't let him go unless a price comes in. So yeah. Any news on Greg Taylor? Greg Taylor's old news, mate. We ain't getting Greg Taylor. You know, Greg Taylor's gone now. He's finished. Greg Taylor's finished now. You know, that was just a rumor, I think, on Twitter. So yeah, there was interest in him obviously last season, but Greg Taylor, nowhere near now. He's done now. He's done with, gone completely. So yeah, but we'll see you guys tomorrow for the match preview. Hope you all have a good evening. Peace, love, positivity as always, and have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend.